Warning: this podcast contains strong language and touches on a multitude of topics that might be considered inappropriate for work. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for anything that happens to you as a result of your decision. You have been warned. Warning: this podcast contains strong language and touches on a multitude of topics that might be considered inappropriate for work. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for anything that happens to you as a result of your decision. You have been warned. Warning: this podcast contains strong language and touches on a multitude of topics that might be considered inappropriate for work. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for anything that happens to you as a result of your decision. You have been warned. Please note that this podcast contains strong language and touches on a multitude of topics that may be considered inappropriate for work. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for the results of your decision. You have been warned. Please note that this podcast contains strong language and touches on many topics that may not be considered appropriate for work. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for the results of your decision. Warning: this podcast contains strong language and touches on a multitude of topics that might be considered inappropriate for work. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for anything that happens to you as a result of your decision. You have been warned. Please note that this podcast contains strong language and may touch on topics that are not considered appropriate for a work environment. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for the results of your decision. Please note that this podcast contains strong language and may touch on topics that are not considered appropriate for a work environment. If you choose to listen without headphones, we are not responsible for the consequences of your decision. Warning: please note that this podcast contains strong language and touches on many topics that may not be considered appropriate for a work environment. If you choose to listen to this podcast where you can be overheard, we are not responsible for the consequences of your decision. You've been warned.
Spoilers, people! We're going to talk about all things equality. Feminism, racism, sexism, all the isms that need to be talked about.
Yes, but mostly intersectional feminism and how it impacts everybody's life. We all have an X-chromosome, as we've learned through our research. That's the only way we live.
Yep, my name is Bill.
And I'm Noelle.
And we have some business to attend to before we let Noelle off her rage leash and go from there.
I'm so angry. So angry. There's so much to be angry with. Since the last time we sat down and had an anger rant moment. But yes, business. Thank you, everybody, for your reviews and your listens and your likes and subscribes. They help. Now, tell other people about how ridiculous we are and how much you enjoy listening to everything we do. Because that will help get us up the charts and get us sponsors and things that help us make the podcast even better. Once we get sponsors and some revenue, we can start doing things like subscribing to databases that give us access to scholarly works, some newspaper subscriptions, and all that sort of good shit that makes us even more effective at bringing you some harsh truths. It will also let us hire or compensate guests for their time besides shameless plugging, because as we discussed with Alpha Riff, we believe in paying people, so we would love to get some cool special guests, but that requires cash.
Cash is king, unfortunately.
Well, these people do a lot of hard work. Like, I have a line on some amazing health equity experts, but they would be taking time out of their lives, and they don't have a lot of money to begin with, so I would like to chuck them some money for coming on the show and talking to us specifically about health access equity and the non-straight experience, because that's where their expertise is.
Well, I'm not saying that it's not to compensate people for work. I'm just saying that, unfortunately, like we mentioned in the last show, there is a lot of things that we would like to go through and chuck money at that we feel that they deserve it. But unfortunately, in this day and age, the way that the economy is, where you just can't give money to everything that you need to, because you have to worry about your own sense of self, so to speak. Oh. And it sucks.
Yeah, we're so far doing this for free, and for a little bit, I don't mind doing it for free. I don't mind, me screaming for free. It's my time. I can do what I want. But if I'm asking somebody to take time out of their non-work day to come and talk about work, they deserve to be compensated for that, because I'm making them do extra work.
That being said, we would like to hear from you anyway, either possibly becoming a guest, sharing your stories. If you don't want to come on, feel free to go through and write us. Write us at xchromosomepodcast.com. We have things that we'd like to talk to and discuss people about various topics, but also we want to be able to hear your stories. So feel free to send us any feedback, any questions, any comments. Share your stories about how you feel about equality in general in regards to intersectional feminism, in regards to not just feminism itself, but racism, other sexisms, all the isms, basically. That's my catch, is all the isms.
Yeah, intersectional feminism means everybody. It means giving a voice to and boosting the voice of experiences that don't necessarily have as much of a platform. If you are neurodivergent, if you are non-straight, if you are dealing with a body that was not issued correctly from the factory, any of that, all of that, we are inclusive here. We want to hear your stories, and your stories become either we get you to come talk about them live, or they can become rant issues with our with your permission, of course, because we're not assholes. We're not going to spill any beans without your permission. What is that email address they can write us at?
Write us at xchromosomepodcast.com.
And we have a Facebook page, which is go ahead.
The Facebook page is www.facebook.com/we all have an X chromosome.
You can also at us at we all have an X chromosome. Theoretically, there's an Instagram, unless that's still broken, because I don't know why. We posted a thing, and they flapped their hands at us.
The Instagram we are banned from Instagram because we are that controversial that we put our website address in our information, and that's the controversy. But we are on Twitter, where I actually do follow it to find more things to read about and rant at and go through, and that's at X-Chromosome Pod.
Okay. We also have a website, but we put that shit on everything.
Yep. As you heard a couple of times, that's going to be xchromosomepodcast.com, and we have a Patreon to help us go through and try to get fundings to databases, articles, things of that nature, that is www.patreon.com/X-Chromosome podcast.
Okay, so that's the business end of things. Now, I got a lot of problems with this country, and you're going to hear about it. Starting with, the last rant was about dress codes and about policing women's bodies. I was reminded this very day from the Twitter sphere. This dude, if you want to go call him out for his gross misogyny, tweeted a picture of his daughter and her prom date and himself in a golf shirt, and, you know, he looks like he just got back from sucking at golf. He's also carrying a handgun, and he's captioned it, "Wishing my beautiful daughter and her date a great time at prom." And he's got his arm around her, and she's giving him the, "Oh, Dad," sort of look. And he doesn't look like he has any business holding a firearm of any sort. This is on the Facebook page. And at Shannon R. Watts responded to him with, "Oh, yay! American dads have kicked off the season of Let's Pretend I'm going to shoot my daughter's date for impugning her chastity pics." And, you know, it's just gross. We already have some great discussion going on that, but super gross. Don't be that guy. It's disgusting and it's creepy. Stop. I don't understand why dads have to be so creepily obsessed with their... I'm piggybacking off some other stuff. You know, my true crime obsession has to deal a lot with women, with men being possessive of women, and, you know...
Oh, that's an NFL kicker.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know who
the only reason I know that name is because what the fuck is it about the New York Giants going through and at least having kickers that tend to be complete assholes? Because he used to kick for the Giants before they got the guy that used to...
Even grosser. He's like my age, and that's extra disgusting.
No, what I was going to look at is because that's a very much a attitude in the South. When I lived in the South, to the point that one of the things when I had my old podcast, my worries was about that I don't actually believe the stuff that's coming out of my mouth, and I just might be compensating for my surroundings. Anyway, one of the things that I used to do was sound like that. If I ever, but that's what I lived in the South. So what I was looking for when it was mentioned, it was like, I wonder if that is one of these Southern tropes that goes about things. But nope, it's asshole
everywhere.
Kicker.
It's disgusting. I love this. It's I take gun safety very seriously. That's what he's talking... No. How about I have no business thinking about whatever is going on in my daughter's pants. I have no business thinking, the gun was not loaded and had no clip in, and I did not intend to be insensitive to that important issue. They knew I was joking. It doesn't matter. It's disgusting that you think that it's remotely okay to have an unhealthy obsession with the proximity of dicks to your daughter. That's gross. It's not a regional thing. It's a level of bananasness in your faith thing. It's a fundamentalism thing. Because it happened whenever you get the crazy God botherers who get super uptight about shit. That's when you get into the women are actual, possessions, and you treat them as such.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. What I was checking for my own awareness was this is how I sounded when I lived in the South. And if this was just like some guy that lived in the South, that would have just confirmed my bias.
Nah, it's everything. It's all terrible.
But yeah, he was the kicker that the Giants had before the kicker that abused his wife.
Oh, so this intersects with the NFL doesn't give a fuck about violence against women or anyone unless you're currently making them money. And as long as you're making them money, they will find a way to keep you on the field. I fucking hate the NFL.
If people want to go through and complain, go complain to CBS. He is a college football analyst.
Yeah, please light his shit up. Also, he posted, his in the screen cap, which is his Twitter handle, so you can, drag him for filth on the internet. Further, don't let up.
I'll go through and post the picture to I'll link to the picture somewhere, but I'm not going to go through and give him the audio setup where to find him.
There's just so much has been going on is angry to make me angry. From the 18th of April, so earlier this month, I'm going to butcher her name, and I desperately apologize for it, but this is more men controlling women's bodies and what they do with them. Nusrat Jahan Rafi was burned to death for reporting sexual harassment. How dare she? Now, if you are not aware of this story, she was content warning, this is shitty. She was doused with kerosene and set on fire at her school in Bangladesh. Less than 2 weeks earlier, she had filed a sexual harassment complaint against the headmaster. She was studying at a madrasa, or Islamic school, on the 27th of March. She said the headmaster called her into his office and repeatedly touched her in an inappropriate manner. Before things could go any further, she ran out. She went to the police with the help of her family. She was filmed by the officer in charge on his phone as she described the ordeal. The policeman there is a video. In the video, she is visibly distressed and tries to hide her face with her hands. The policeman is heard calling the complaint no big deal and telling her to move her hands from her face. The video was later leaked to local media. They arrested her assaulter, and it went downhill from there. She went to school to take her finals. Her brother tried to go with her. If I hadn't been stopped, something like this wouldn't have happened to my sister. He's going to have to deal with survivor guilt and self-blame for the rest of his life because nobody thought that she was worth protecting herself, that she didn't have a right to herself and that it wasn't a big deal. Ugh.
I really have...
I can't. I'm so angry.
When this was brought to our attention, I was like, I have no words. I mean, this is why I'm continuing to do this whole entire thing, because you know that metaphor about war when someone sees someone dies for the first time in the middle of war, they're like, oh my god, this is horrible, but they keep on seeing the death and the death and the death, and they just walk by it like it's nothing because they're so used to it. I feel like I got to the point where everything has gotten to the point that I see all this going on, and I'm like, I just can't even say anything about it anymore, because it's horrible. And what it's like, what can I personally say that it's like I'm outraged inside? I'm outraged to the point of being silent. And
takes the breath out of you. There's nothing that can be said. It's just mind-blowingly horrible. And because this is not a competition, everything is terrible. This is horrifying. Women are also set on fire here. Her name was Judy Malinowski. She was set on fire because she told a man no. She lived in Columbus. She lived for years. She lived in agony for years until he went to trial. And he's finally being charged with her murder. So don't think this is an over there or a not in America country. Women are murdered for standing up for themselves all the time, all over the world. And it needs to stop.
You see it all the time on the news where someone says to a guy, "No, I'm not interested," and they follow them to the parking lot and they shoot them. Men, we need to start making sure that we are policing ourselves on top of everything. If you see shit like this getting even remotely ready to go down, you need to do what you can, not only to intervene, but to make sure that people are also understand that they can be safe. As Noelle said, this isn't just a over there thing. This is an all over thing. If you see shit like this going down, you need to stop this shit from happening. You know how people say that we have to stop saying the words "man up." I'm sorry, but in this case, you have to man up and stop it. Not just stop yourselves, but if you see something going on like that, you need to put yourself in the path of saying, "Hey, bro, look, this is not cool. Get things out of the way." Yeah, you might go through and it might put you in a harm's way a little bit, but still, what women go through, it's bullshit. So it's stupid. I hate to bring this to the campaign like this, but like the MBTA has this thing called if you see something, say something. It's not just about like bagpacks being left on the tee and things like that, but if you instead of see something, say something. If you see something, do something. Because we're at an age that we just can't sit there and just like, oh, I'm just going to call the cops or call the authorities. You got to actually get up and do something.
I got to find a not dispatch story. Okay, here it is. One of the things I actually approve of Governor Kasich for, the day after Judy died, June 28th, it was signed. It was up. The original article I'm sharing was published 7/17/17 and was updated 8/10/17. It passed unanimously. She died on June 27th, 2017. She was only 33 years old. She spent 2 years in the hospital, determined to stay alive so she could testify against him, and she couldn't make it. Following her death, Ron O'Brien says he planned to move forward with murder charges, and he pled to avoid the death penalty. And he pled out, which, I mean, good. Be locked up forever. So that's angry. That's a lot of angry. We would like to stop dying. Please stop killing us. And that's all religions. That's everyone. Judy got noticed. There are women who are killed every day who are discarded. Women of color, trans women, indigenous women, sex workers, marginalized people, marginalized women all the time. And we have to stop it. And I don't know how. If you have ideas, please write the podcast so we can start actively doing something instead of just being so angry we cannot speak.
Okay, so can I bring a different type of righteous rage to the program?
Okay, what are you righteously raging about? I've got my fucking hooray.
All right, so our current favorite rich white man, Robert Kraft.
Oh my God! Now what?
Robert Kraft claimed a short-term victory Tuesday when a judge temporarily barred the release of surveillance videos of Patriots owner allegedly paying for sex acts in a Florida spa, writing that fairly unremarkable allegations have dominated the headlines because the defendant owns the most successful franchise in the National Football League. However, as soon as the jury is selected, they're releasing the motherfuckers.
Oh, good. Good.
The judge just
drag him for filth.
The judge just doesn't want them released now because it would ruin the jury selection process. But as soon as the jury is selected, they'll be able to release the videos.
Once the jury's impaneled, that's a reasonable thing. That's like, okay, if we release these, we're gonna taint the jury pool, and that's gonna give him a chance to appeal. So we'll hold off
until the jury's selected,
and then
when the trial starts, you can release them as evidence during the trial, and everybody can go through and
the day they are introduced into evidence during the trial, it's gonna the sharks will come out and they will feast. And Goodell is going to do everything he can to protect the cartel of 32 teams, right? I only care about one of them, so I lose track of how many others are in the totality of the NFL.
I think if this goes through, and I think that it won't hurt the league as much as will protect Kraft as much as some people think, only because Goodell and Kraft hate each other. I could see that Kraft himself might get, like, quote unquote kicked out of the league or suspended. Patriots would probably lose draft picks, but it'd just go to, like, another member of the Kraft family, probably, in regards to the ownership. But the videos will be released when this goes to trial, and Kraft put himself in the position thinking that if I go to trial, the videos won't be released. But no, that's not going to be the case.
Maybe he'll plead now.
That's probably what's going to happen.
I mean, he's a garbage human being. Thank you for the update on the Robert Kraft is a garbage human being front. I appreciate knowing when people are going to get what they deserve.
But yes, I think it was time to break things up with a little bit of righteous rage, so to speak.
Well, something a little lighter. And in more lightness, this article crossed my desk from Broadly. This is out of the UK. Dateline April 17th, 2019. Article written by Jake Hall, filed under Politics. In the UK, sex workers are joining with trade unions to demand better collective conditions for their industry. Yes! It's legal to exchange sex for money in England, but street-based workers are often criminalized through loitering and soliciting laws. Because of course they are. Brothels are illegal, but an overly generous legal definition of a brothel means that sex workers can be raided and persecuted for sharing premises, even if they're doing so for their own protection. In the campaign groups and collectives like Decrim Now and Swarm are calling for full decriminalization, but in the meantime, strippers, whose work is entirely legal, are unionizing in the hopes of sparking industry-wide change.
Now, just before people go through and jump on the negativity bandwagon about this, about, oh no, if you go through and you unionize, it's going to make things less safe. Yeah, but we just pointed out the reason why it's causing issue. I remember when I lived in New Hampshire, which I call the South of the North. They were talking about strippers were looking to go through and unionize there, and basically one of the things about the unionization of it is that they were going to forcefully have them have to constantly wear, like, badges with their, like, actual name and address and things like that.
What?
No. Yeah. And the thing was it had to do. It was some legal mumbo jumbo that caused it to, like, get pushed off to the side and basically it got ended because of a bunch of bad press. Basically, this is something that is talking about safety of everyone involved. It not just this is about equality and feminism. It's not just about decriminalizing and having everything safe for the women. It's honest work. Honestly, I'm going to be quite honest. If it was legal, I would probably use the services. I'm single. I'm not getting anything anytime soon. it might be something that I might consider going through and doing. But just because of the legalization aspects of it, it's like pot. I can now go and have. I'm in Massachusetts. I can now go and have a marijuana cigarette and not get in trouble.
They're called joints. They're called or blunts. They're not called marijuana cigarettes. You square. I'm sorry, I had to break in and be like, I am the whitest white chick, and I know that you do not call them marijuana cigarettes. Ever. Unless you're like from the 50s. I know that a blunt is a cigar wrapper. I know. I'm hip for an old lady. I'm with it. I'm cool. I got kids to teach me the lingo about the devil's lettuce.
But still, what it boils down to is that because legalities are there, it is stopping people that are doing honest work from not only doing their honest work, but possibly even flourishing.
Yes.
And this goes back to just comparing it to the marijuana industry itself. Now you have marijuana starting to be legal in other states, but you still have people stuck in jail for having a little bit of marijuana for themselves. And not being decriminalized because of that. Not getting removed from prison because it's now legal to have. Now you have
retroactive voiding of arrest records. Just you were never in trouble for pot.
It's and a lot of the times that you have now these dispensaries coming up, you have a bunch of white people running the dispensaries and owning the dispensaries. When you have when you have a case of a lot of black people in jail that were dealing in the first place.
And are probably going to be better at running a dispensary efficiently than the people who are running them now. Because really, if you have a successful drug dealing business, you're an entrepreneur and you have a business and you were good at business because you were obviously running a successful enterprise. It just Uncle Sam happened to frown on your product at the time. Take the drug dealers out of prison. Take pot dealers out of prison, put them in dispensaries, let them handle shit. They've already got the connections, they can already get shit taken care of. They already know the business. Let them do their jobs. Let them get paid. Clear their records.
I wish it would work on me. Unfortunately, it doesn't.
My only experiences are, it does help a little bit with the anxiety, which is nice.
I have somewhere recorded where I ate like so many marijuana infused edibles that I was with it was a 2-hour recording with me and my other podcast partner, just seeing if it would go through and have any effect, because I was told the whole entire thing of, all right, just don't go through and eat and wait a little bit before it affects, because you're going to go through and you're going to try to eat a lot thinking that's going to have no effect, and then it's all going to hit you. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go through and do the worst case scenario.
No, you don't know.
No.
I got plenty of advice from my friends who partake about my upcoming vacation to a land where that shit's legal. Also, my work has already been informed, just in case. They know not to drug test me for a little while until I get back. Not that they drug test me anyway, but good guy employer isn't going to punish me.
But I was also given advice from things that people that know how to have an effect sooner. So I was on an empty stomach. I got them from a good place where I was told that they were potent. I go through and I eat all the stuff, doing it live just to see if anything weird would happen over the course of the time. Had everything eaten about maybe 30 minutes. And 2 hours later, even through the recording, I felt nothing. Even like 3 hours after the recording was over, only thing I got was dry mouth. And then later on, I've tried smoking it, and it's like still nothing. And they're like, people just think that just because my body refuses to have that type of enjoyment unless it's like, I guess, harder opiates. Only thing that's a drug that's even remotely affected me has been codeine. Unfortunately, the marijuana is not for me. The devil's lettuce does not affect me. I am too pure for the devil to affect me.
Or you just don't realize the effect it had because it didn't do what you were expecting it to do.
No, it had nothing. I felt no different. Nothing.
I didn't feel any different either. I have 2 experience stories. One of them involved getting hotboxed out of a dorm room with some really, really, like, Toledo window box would have been a step up. It smelled like burning electrical, and the room was so foggy. I was just, I don't know what they were doing, but I took forever to wash it out of my everything. It was the longest shower of my life. And the second experience, it was like, so nothing is occurring except I am not doing all of my anxiety twitches. It wasn't like a noticeable thing until I thought about it.
See, I was actively trying to think about it just to see if there was things that might be going different, and it just wasn't. I just, for me, when it comes down to getting high, I actually need to feel it just doesn't work. I actively notice that nothing is different. The only physical sensation, unfortunately for me, has been dry mouth. It's more that I'm sad that it doesn't work than angry that it doesn't work, because I wish it did work. And the only other thing that I haven't tried in regards to various things that I've been told is like, this will put you to sleep. And I'm like, look, I have no problem going to sleep. I am a sleep fucking champion.
It's staying awake.
Yeah. All right, so I want to bring up a conversation that is going to be important, especially in 2020, and things that are going through, which affects all of this type of thing. I'm going to talk about politics and the presidential election.
Oh boy, here we go. Okay, here we go.
So people have their favorite candidates. That's just logical out there. I'm not saying that having a favorite candidate is wrong, as long as your goal for 2020 is to get the current person that is acting as if they should be president out of office. As long as that's your goal, great, more power to you. So I noticed that every time anybody has been coming out, and there are candidates out there that I know absolutely nothing about. For me, a lot of it has to be about getting to know candidates as people, so to speak. And that's important to me as much as their policies. I don't have the phonetic pronunciation of the candidate's name in front of me. But
is it Mayor Pete?
Yes, Mayor Pete. That's the best way to put it, yes. Mayor Pete currently is getting the same, is starting to get the same pushback as Beto is about. Yes, you keep talking and you sound like, but what are your policies? How important do you think it is for at this juncture in the game about policies? But for example, people talk about the policies and various things. One of the things that Mayor Pete has mentioned is that he doesn't agree with the idea of free education for all. That's his personal opinion in regards to that. However, at this juncture, do you think it's a good idea for a candidate to start throwing out policies before they actually get everything set up with the primary fields officially?
Yes, it's absolutely important. Also, I'm really tired of white guys. Really tired of white guys. I don't care if I don't care about guys anymore.
I already know that my vote is either going to go to Warren or Harris, depending on or depending on who says that they're stepping out after the beginning of the primary season. I'm in Massachusetts. I'm what's called unenrolled. I'm an independent voter. I actually vote in either primary if I choose, but I'm gonna probably be voting for Warren or Harris, not because there's anything wrong, but I think that we need a more set of diverse voices in government in general. So that's just my take on that. Nothing wrong with Bernie, nothing wrong with other people. I'm gonna just go with Warren or Harris, depending on that. It's gonna probably be a coin flip at the time.
I mean, I can't sweep all of the other candidates that are not Gillibrand, Harris, or Warren.
I actually forgot about Gillibrand.
Yeah, let's not. That's why I threw some shit up there so we can be like, oh hey, look at all of these people that are running, that are throwing their hat in the ring. Okay. Excluding anyone who identifies as female. I can no longer sweep, I can't sweep the rest of them under the straight, white, and male, because some of them are not straight and some of them are not white, but I'm really tired of dudes. We've had 45 guys. 45. And it's increasingly clear that men are temperamental, fragile, fucking children, and you should not be allowed anywhere near something like nuclear codes. So it's time to stop. And something I'm hearing over and over again, they're not likable. Elizabeth Warren isn't likable. Kristen Gillibrand isn't likable. Kamala Harris isn't likable. We don't fucking care. This isn't a popularity contest. You don't have to be liked to do a good job. It's exasperating as a woman. You're not. I shared a meme today about Brie Larson and how Brie Larson is getting all of this pushback for the same shit Robert Downey Jr. did and does and is. He's the embodiment of cocky asshole, and we love him for it because he is Tony Stark. It is the role that he has spent his life studying for. God bless him for getting clean. Good for him. May he continue on that journey. It's tough. I'm very proud of him for handling his shit and getting his life back together. But it did make him a perfect Tony Stark. Brie Larson is the same cocky. She doesn't take shit from people. She doesn't fuck around. She's not nice.
Just like Captain Marvel.
Just like Carol Danvers does not have time to be nice to you. She's got shit to do. She spends the entire movie not being nice to anyone except her lifelong friend and her friend's daughter. Those are the only two people she is actively nice to. She is compassionate to the Skrull once she figures out what shit's going real. Spoilers! By the way, fuck you. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you deserve everything you're getting right now. Endgame is literally coming out Thursday. Go fucking see Captain Marvel if you haven't seen it already. You're out of time. Carol Danvers she doesn't have any time for Fury. She doesn't have any time for Uncle Phil. She doesn't have any time for any of the Kree in the movie. She's got no time and no shit, no fucks to give about any of it. She's got a job. She's gonna fucking handle it. She's gonna figure shit out, and it's gonna, she is mission oriented. That's everything you want in a men's action hero. But because the story does not hit all the traditional action hero notes, specific boys fucking lose their minds. Also because Carol Danvers is a chick who listens to Nine Inch Nails and is a fucking badass. Metal. I'm gonna do Carol Danvers cosplay that is essentially cutting up a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt and wearing a leather jacket. And that's it. That's it. I'm doing a 90s grunge cosplay of Carol Danvers. It's fine. But Brie Larson she has that spirit about her where she's like, no, I don't want a bunch of the same old questions. I'm not going to talk to male reporters. They're not going to ask me real questions. Fuck them. Fuck the whiny white boys.
Okay, so let me give a correction about this.
Okay.
She never actually said that.
Fair. But what
she did go through and say, because I actually went through and because you mentioned this before in regards to this, and it went through various fact checkers because people were getting angry about her supposedly saying this, but it was not the case. What she did say is that she did notice that that the media in general across the board needs more women in media covering this type of thing. Not that she won't talk to men, but she doesn't want to just be in a room full of male reporters talking about the issue. When she wants to be able to have more women in media covering this type of thing. Because this also came onto the point about the whole "this movie is not for you" about the men part. She didn't say that either. However, all these negative thoughts that the media are portraying has been attributed to her, and basically it's still point blank. She gives no fucks, and she's gonna say what's on her mind. But people manipulate that to the point that it sounds like she's being an angry white woman when really it's not the case.
She's being a feminist.
Right.
That's feminism. It's that I would like to talk about the movie, not about what I'm wearing or my diet.
Right.
I would like the same questions my male co-stars are being asked. It's the same thing. She's just the loudest about it because she's on her platform is so much bigger because she's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and all signs point to her helming the next 20 years of film.
And
so the tears are going to be delicious, and I'm here for all of it. But I am not here for anyone, anywhere, anymore who says, she's not nice. Why can't she be nice? We're tired of being nice. Nice is a defense mechanism that women use to keep themselves alive. And we're exhausted.
And sometimes that doesn't even work either.
And yeah, that generally, it doesn't actually work to keep us alive. But it's something that I'm having fun playing with in my Discord server game. My character has had a lot of stressors, and it's a behavior I've witnessed in myself, and I'm getting to sit and analyze it at a remove, because in these situations she's playing old tropes and she's using all of the tricks that women have been given to keep them. It's something I just noticed being someone who moves through the world as a woman. I've noticed it a lot in my gaming life. They always say such nice things about my character, Uraeli. They're like, Miss Yuri is so nice. Miss Yuri is such a kind person. She's so nice. How could she be terrible? It's like, I know she's a horrible, horrible monster. I know exactly what she would do, given any situation, and depending on her mood and what she needed to accomplish, how far she would go to accomplish her goals. Nobody else knows that. So I have this in-character persona that's nice and soft and okay, she's a little stern and standoffish, but she's perceived as compassionate and gentle and caring. But I, like Carol Danvers, ran out of fucks a long time ago, and I don't put up with people's shit. and I don't put up with backtalk, and I'm not nice out of character. And people attacked me for it. People have attacked me for years for not playing ball, for not letting them do not letting them what they wanted to do and going along with the flow. So when I see people do that to a political candidate, it drives me insane. Because it doesn't matter. Do I run a good event? Did you have fun? Then shut the fuck up about me being nice to you or nice in general. Because it's not about whether you like me, it's about whether I delivered on what I said I was going to do. We have a question about how do I feel about the difference between she is nice and she has been nice to me. Personally, I'm not nice. People who call me nice, I will automatically not trust them because they haven't looked past the public persona. All they see is my shape, the softness, and that I'm a girl, and that I'm not instantly trying to yell at them. They haven't earned it yet. So obviously she's really nice. Either somebody's paying me to not be a standoffish introvert, or you haven't pissed me off. She has been nice to me, the me being the speaker. If I have done a kindness to someone, it's because they've earned it. It's a huge difference between she's a nice person and she's been nice to me. Most of the time, if I'm nice to you, it's because you either need that from me or you've earned that from me. If it's a need situation, it's probably work related. If it's earned, it's because I have chosen to include you in that which is mine. I'm very selfish. I pretty much consider everything mine, but I can't be everywhere at once, so I take care of the mine that is in front of me at the time. It's also abusive people can be nice to specific people and super, super shitty to their victims. So just because somebody is nice to you does not mean, you specifically, does not mean that they're not an asshole. So do be aware that can be a thing, and you should listen with two ears. Go ahead.
I also want to, not to, but to piggyback off that point, a lot of the times people that are abused know that their abuser has this public persona of niceness that they don't even try to fight them back by trying to get help, because they know the first thing that they're going to get is, oh, they're looking out for your best interests. They're not as bad as you think they are. They know.
But they're nice to me.
Right. And they know the first thing that people are going to say is they're nice to me. People that are in an abusive situation, the only people they can basically go through and turn to, it tends not to be people that are their friends. Especially if their friends know the other person. Because they're tainted. Because you're putting extra issues on the abused by trying to talk them into saying, but your abuser seems like a good person. Why do you think this way? Why do you think they of course they're not. You're putting extra pressure onto the person being abused by trying to, you might see it as trying to understand the situation, but how you go through and present it doesn't feel that way. If someone's saying, look, this person is being shitty to me, they're hitting me, they're hurting me, they're harming me, I'll stop. This person is harming another person. Your first response should be, what can I do to help you get out of this situation? Not how nice the person is, that's the abuser, not how they treat other people, not their public persona. What can I do to get you out and help you from this situation? Period. I'll stop.
Yeah. Having been in a shitty relationship with somebody who convinced me that his career was slightly more important than my pain. Yeah, it's taken a long time to talk about it. It's taken a long time to put it in a context. But I'm in a place where I can talk about it to friends we had in common, friends that he had, in some cases, only because of me. And to not be able to talk to them and say, this person is toxic for all of us, we need to get away, was extremely painful. But it's better now, and that's awesome. And I like where I am with that friend, and I like where I am now. Please just listen when it comes to people being abusive. We're coming all the way back around to women getting murdered because nobody's listening. Terrible stories this week. There were too many to ping and share, and because just there was so much anger with them. Women are getting kicked out of apartment complexes. Women are getting ignored by the cops for calling for help, for reporting abuse. What the hell is that shit? Besides terrifying all day, they're being ignored, and it's killing them because, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, it's just a thing. Oh, he's only pulling your hair because he likes you. It's frightening. I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with this except generalized anger. Yeah, also, the woman whose Uber driver left her in the middle of nowhere. She was trying to go to a doctor's appointment. He found out what sort of doctor's appointment, and he just abandoned this woman she was trying to get an abortion. He abandoned her on the side of the road, kicked her out of the car.
It's not just that he abandoned her, he basically was threatening her with the whole entire thing. He stopped and let her out, and then he was like, well, I can bring you back, or leave you out here, and you're not going to be able to get anybody out here to pick you up. So he basically sat there and basically played with his food, so to speak.
I didn't read the whole article because I don't have enough foods in the day to be angry about everything.
It's just basically it's worse than what the headline said. Basically,
the headline was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it was worse.
Of course, it's worse.
He picked her up. He was talking to her, and somehow he figured out that she was going to a clinic. And they were out in the middle of nowhere at the point getting to from getting to point A to point B. And he goes, well, I can't take you there because I don't agree with it. So I'm going to have to let you out here. But I can take you back to where you were, but I'm not going to take you out there. So she said, fine, let me out. Let her out. And he's like, you're not going to get another Uber driver out here. And he, for like 5 to 10 minutes, he was going while she was trying to make calls to cab companies, Ubers, things like that. They come pick her up in the middle of nowhere. Thankfully, her GPS on her phone was able to get somebody out there, so she could continue on to her destination. And she did report the person to Uber, and the person has been banned from driving Uber.
This is why I don't get into cars with strangers from the internet. Sorry.
But still, it's like, it's multiple levels of fucked up.
Yes. And then there's even if we don't get dropped off in the middle of nowhere by terrorists, they could still just straight up murder us. Ugh. Just don't get into the... I know ride sharing is a big deal and people are like, it's the wave of the future. It's don't get in the car with strangers from the internet. Just don't. Stop it. Call a cab company. They're actually required to deliver you to your destination. And probably take you away again.
I hate to say, I wish that was easy. Right there. Call the cab company. I've lived in places where calling a cab company is not an option.
I know it's not easy, and I too live somewhere where calling a cab company is not easy and not really an option, but I mean, at least a cab company, they're not gonna... They're probably not going to murder you because somebody in dispatch is keeping an eye on them.
I'm not saying that's not really an option. I mean, when you've called all the surrounding cab companies, and they said, we're sorry, we don't go out to your area.
I live in rural Ohio.
You might have a cab company that is willing to go out to rural Ohio.
Not really.
But may or may not, I don't know. But it's one of those things where, unfortunately, I live in areas where I could still get an Uber, but I couldn't get a cab, even if I called all the cab companies. That's the thing about in my view, is the whole wave of the future thing. But unfortunately, people have to start thinking about things like, okay, now that this Uber driver caused this person horror, I have to see about getting off from my Uber ride about 2 blocks away from my intended destination.
Just to make sure I get there.
Yeah.
Safely.
It's
there's so much to be angry about, and there's not enough podcast time. Because eventually Bill will want to...
There's so much to be angry about. There is a lot of podcast time, but it's also how long do people want to be? Can people sit there and listen for one giant sitting?
Endless rant.
So this was brought up because I was going to bring this up too, but our friend of the podcast, Knight, who is constantly bombarding us in a good way with things to our
endlessly.
Facebook page.
We need more people like Knight, please, because otherwise I have to remember to do things on my own, and I hate doing homework. Please do my homework for me.
Charlize Theron. I probably butchered the name. This is one of those names that I keep on reading. I just keep on mispronouncing.
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron, thank you. Reveals her support for her trans daughter. One day, her daughter says, "I'm not a boy." She's run with it. Not a boy.
Okay, that's great. Good. Moving on. And that's exactly how it should be handled at 100% of the time. Oh, now all the way back to trans rights. How about that chick who's getting suspended for kneeing an asshole in the crotch for being in the wrong bathroom, harassing women in a bathroom. She's been suspended, and it's infuriating. She's suspended for defending herself because she was afraid of these guys who burst into the girls' bathroom and being fucking menaces. We'll have to find the story so we can share the link, but I spent like 2 weeks being angry about that.
So when I read through the story a little bit further, what it boiled down for the girl in question is not a trans girl, on top of everything. So there was something that came through that basically was talking about trans bathroom rights. So a bunch of boys thought it would be something funny that someone that could come into our bathroom, we could go into their bathroom. So they were going to go into the girls' bathroom to go through and do a mocking selfie as a group shot in the girls' bathroom, because they were trying to quote-unquote protest this. This is taking place in North Pole, Alaska. And there was...
it's the ass end of nowhere.
Yep. So these boys enter the woman's bathroom, and a girl who was in the bathroom tried to stop them, and because she's freaked out, and she kicked one of them in the balls.
She just did what she was taught to do, and she kneed him in the crotch because she was afraid and angry, and, I mean, there's no right. They entered the bathroom and blocked the door. They trapped her in the bathroom and scared her. So she did what she needed to do to get away, and she's been suspended for it. The fuck is that?
Yeah, as she was exiting the girls' room, a female student, no relation to the transgender student, that the school administration said it was okay for them to use the bathroom, was startled and frightened and responded by kneeing one of the students in the groin. The rest of the boys dispersed, and the injured boy was brought to the nurse. The female student, who is a minor and therefore not identified, was expelled indefinitely from the school after a Title IX investigation for using force against another student before physical force was used upon her. The boys were also disciplined, though their punishment was not released and does not seem to be as severe. The student is appealing the school's decision, and many of the community has her back to her. One person to come to the girl's defense was Republican Alaska State Representative Tammy Wilson, who voiced her comment in the news. That name comes me as someone being problematic, but really what it boils down to is that a bunch of boys run to the bathroom, not because they're claiming it's a protest, but it's just like, let's go do this as a prank. Girl is exiting, freaked out, knees one of them in the nuts because it just looks like men are invading the woman's space because they're just being assholes. Then the other guys run away after one of them gets kneed. And one of them the girl gets expelled indefinitely, and the other one might have been quote-unquote punished, but doesn't seem that bad. So this is bullshit on top of bullshit.
Anger. So angry. There are no words. It's just more misogyny and policing of women and denial of women the right to basic things like allowing, being able to take a leak without feeling afraid. Right? The bathroom should be the one place that you can go and not be afraid, of all places. And here's yet another example of how that's not the case and how misogyny, internalized or otherwise, because there are women who harass other women in the bathroom, and I don't understand those women, but they exist. I don't know how to live in a world where you can't take a piss in safety, to where even in some cases you will be followed into the bathroom because you don't have a appropriately shaped enough, there's air quotes for those of you listening at home and not in my little podcast lair, not womanly enough shaped body or the wrong haircut. I don't get it. And I don't have words for how fucked up it is that somehow we've gotten to a point in our society where some people think it's okay to be obsessed with strangers' genitals.
So, with that being said, I wish I had better news in this phone.
Yeah, I kind of blew my fucking hooray early with the yay! Sex workers are... Oh, yeah, that's a happy thing. The FBI arrested the leader of the right-wing militia that was detaining migrants at the border. That makes me happy. That's a happy thing. Charlize Theron supporting her daughter makes me happy. Sex workers unionizing in the UK makes me happy.
Robert Kraft's video is going to be released at some point after jury selection. Makes me happy.
Yeah, Robert Kraft having to face some sort of penalty for being a disgusting human being. That makes me happy.
At some point, we're going to be professional enough to talk about all the stories beforehand, so we can end everything off on a happy note for sure. But
yeah, someday we will have our shit together, but it is not this day. This day, Bill is going to have to do a ton of creative editing back on the back end of this to cut it into some sort of meaningful and coherent whole
so let me
to release into the world.
Let's go
In fact, this rant probably won't even make it to the official broadcast.
This is something that is a recent change after the Alpha Rift episode.
Yes, speak about them.
We talk on these podcasts a lot. We basically had about close to 3.5 hours of footage on just the last episode. Now, most people can't sit for a podcast and listen to 3.5 hours of footage. I don't know about you, but I can. I have to usually break up my listening time for my long-form podcasts. So, I start breaking up things that are not feminist related into chunks that are on Patreon only. Now, what I've decided is that everybody's going to get access to everything. However, if you have $1 and you put it to the podcast, you're going to have it early, all the additional ooey gooey bits just early, just like the podcast episodes. But that's just going to be on Patreon. It's not going to be released into a podcast download setup. So if you, during the time when I'm doing the editing, I'm going to take like chunks of things that are good as separate, and I'm going to upload those to the Patreon while I'm uploading the main beast. So while during the week through the editing process when I do all my editing, yeah, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
So much editing.
I'm
just glad we don't edit swears because you would die.
Go to our Patreon. You'll see that, post happened. That might be a 22-minute clip. That might be a 30-minute clip. That might be a 10-minute clip. That might be something that's a funny blooper. Who knows? Go to our Patreon. Help us support. Not just going through to continue to do the podcast. I will say that the podcast platform where we upload everything to is paid for the rest of the year, so that's a good thing. But we need to think about not only the future of the podcast, but we want to be able to, again, be able to do more with the podcast to make it a better product. Any support helps in that regard. But everything that we've talked about will be put onto our website, www.xchromosomepodcast.com. All the links to our social media, all our links to the Patreon, our donate link to PayPal is also there in case you don't want to go to the Patreon, but you're like, I like what you're doing, here's some money. We appreciate everything. Everybody that submits gets a shout out on the podcast.
Yes. If you throw money at us, you will get to hear your name spoken. Every time we record, we try to update the fresh donors, and beloved friends of the podcast do get shouted out pretty regularly. So we love you, we support you. We could not do this without you. And even you reviewers, please remember to keep telling us your favorite dinosaur, or we don't care what you put in the comments actually at all. Favorite dinosaur, favorite alcohol, favorite mixed drink, favorite crayon. Just say you told me to come give it a 5-star review and I did that. If you leave an actual review, that's nice. But we're far more interested in feedbacking us through the website and the email, because we actually care about that and look at that regularly, whereas reviews, we don't have the energy to scroll through endlessly.
Write us at xchromosomepodcast.com.
You can also tell us your favorite dinosaur there too, but we would prefer more serious correspondence. Save the dinosaurs for Facebook and stuff.
Hold on, I just saw that. Well, we have 3 ratings and 2 reviews, just to let you know. Triceratops is winning. But we have...
Oh, yay! 2 reviews. Do any of them contain dinosaurs?
It's just Triceratops.
Okay, Team Triceratops, you're ahead of the game.
Alright, so that being said, my name is Bill.
And my name is Noelle. And good night. Craig, go away. what did I just watch sort of thing. Oh god, the bots are alive.